Do you ever feel like no matter how well you play, you still lose games?
Spike down A. One enemy.
Maybe you drop 25 kills, but somehow the rounds slip away. Or worse, your team tilts and crumbles before you even get a chance to play. The truth is, it's not your aim, it's not your teammates, it's your defense. And if you don't fix it, you'll keep losing winnable games and stay stuck in the same rank. But if you do, you'll start winning more games, rank up faster, and finally reach the rank you know you deserve. Defense is 50% of all the rounds you play, and if you aren't playing defense the right way, well, you're leaving a lot of free RR on the table. Let me show you how to win way more rounds on defense. My name is KG Pros and I have reached Immortal 3, ranked 3000 on the EU servers.
80 on site. Oh, well played.
This video will be split into 3 parts covering the most important aspects of playing defense in order to win more games. Proactive versus reactive defense, defense fundamentals, map control and rotations. And lastly, I will cover a bunch of in-game examples to show you step by step how to actually win more on defense. Proactive versus reactive defense. Why is this important and what even is proactive versus reactive defense? Being proactive means you plan your moves and take action before the enemy does. Being reactive means you respond to what the enemy does. So why is this important? Proactivity gives you control of the game, forcing enemies to play on your terms. Reactivity means playing catch-up, which puts you in a weaker position against good enemies as they control the game. There's a famous quote that illustrates this. The opportunity of defeating the enemy is provided by the enemy himself. The gaps are there, you just have to look for them. So how does proactive versus reactive defense actually look like in game, and why should you actually do it? So how does proactive versus reactive defense actually look like in game, and what should you do? First off, we have a reactive defense. You hide far back on both sides, waiting patiently for the attackers. Once they push, they throw all their utility on site and you kill one, maybe two, but lose the site and your team is forced to play retake and lose. Or you play proactive defense. Your initiator takes A main space with one of your duelists early on in the round and kill the enemy chamber lurking. Then they both rotate to B while your Cypher stays A. Once your team hears the enemy push B, you already have enough people to stop the push and you're able to win the round. To solidify this point, here's some pro-ranked games that showcase different ways to be proactive. The most important part of every proactive play is that you have some sort of advantage in the play. Just peeking without any utility or teammates is not being proactive. Playing defense is all about information. If you could know where the attackers would go every single round, I bet you would win almost every round on defense. This gap in information is the biggest advantage that the attackers have. They can push 5 people on a site that is only being held by 2 defenders. So the best way to avoid this is through proactivity, by planning and making moves before the attackers strike. He puts down his teleport on A in case the enemies do go A, but because the team doesn't know where the enemies are going, he decides to slowly walk up here to get information. He finds the Astra, finds the Fade, and he kills the Yoru. When he walks up here, the information is enough for the team to know that the enemies will be going A, and then he can just TP and it's great proactivity. He puts down a deep cam, gets information about 2 people, calls for a reveal from his Sova, which forces the killjoy into the smoke, and then his team kills the rest of the enemy team. Alright, so here we have a clip of Curry playing Split with Sky, and start of the round he flashes A main, jiggles, sees no one. He decides to dog A again to make sure that no one is here. Finds nothing, gets the information. Cypher is able to walk up, get the orb. He then goes mid in order to fight with his team since he is an initiator. Flashes, they are able to kill Clove. He does die here, but with the information he got, it's enough for them to win the round, and it's just great proactivity. Defense fundamentals. There are some principles that every defense should know in order to maximize efficiency during defense. Do not play common angles. Which angles are common is something you learn through experience, but by playing these angles you will be contested by way more utility and will be pre-aimed more often. So be creative and try different angles. Another defense principle is timing. If you want to peek or fight off the barrier, mind the timing. Doing it as soon as the round starts is predictable and lazy. Therefore, change up the angle slightly or peek a few seconds later than what someone would expect. So unless you have a really good angle and you're really confident, most of the times you want to get like a kill and then try and reposition if possible. I think here is also can be a really good angle. This is a bit scary, but here, this like no one's gonna clear you as they're running out here. Of course, some people will. You do not have angle advantage, so it's a bit riskier. But playing here and then off of a teammate's contact can be really strong as well. So just be more creative. Don't play the most common angles and just, you know, stare at the angle and wait for them to pop out. Another extremely important defense fundamental is numbers. Most of the time the attackers will have numbers advantage because they can 5-man push a site while you can't gamble every round and 5-stack a site. Because of this, trading 1-for-1 while you're on defense is extremely bad because it spreads your team thin, opening your team up to some gaps in the defense. Map control and rotations. Map control is mostly about information. If you control A main on Lotus, it means the enemies have to be B main or C main. Process of elimination. So instead of running a 2-1-2, your team can run a 1-2-2. But the other important part of taking map control is the fact that a lot of the time you will be able to get a few kills while doing it, catching the enemies off guard. Taking map control oftentimes disrupts the enemy plan and puts them in a state of reactive gameplay, putting you in control. So by taking map control, you get the information of where the enemies are and maybe a kill, but also you're able to rotate early. Rotating early and being there for the attacker's push is crucial because you want to try and avoid playing retakes as much as possible on defense. Attackers have a win rate around 60 to 70% after the bomb has been planted, so avoid retakes as much as possible unless you have good ultimates for it. Understanding these 3 core principles of defense is a great first step, but understanding it isn't enough. You have to actually practice these principles yourself in order for this video to have any value. I could spend hours teaching you how to ride a bike and teach you all the theory, but unless you actually try for yourself and practice, you won't learn how to ride a bike. Don't listen to me, listen to Alex Ramosi, multimillionaire.
Intelligence is rate of learning. So if I showed you all a red card and then I slapped you, you'd be like, whoa. Then I don't say anything. Then I show you a red card, and then I slapped you. You'd be like, whoa. And then I showed you a red card, and then you duck. Same condition, new behavior. If I show you that, and it takes some person 10 times for them to duck, and one person the second time they duck, the second time person is smarter, they're more intelligent than the 10-time person. A lot of you here think you're really smart, but you go back home to the same condition, and you do the exact same thing. So how smart are you? By defining it that way, it actually makes intelligence under our control. But if you leave here, and your behavior doesn't change in the same conditions, it means you learned nothing.